If you live in New York City, you've probably heard the term rent stabilization. But what is it exactly? I'm so glad I asked. Rent stabilization is the most common form of rent control in New York City. It guarantees you two things: that your rent won't skyrocket unexpectedly, and that you'll always have the right to renew your lease. If you live in a building in New York City that has 6 or more units and was built before 1974, chances are your building is rent stabilized, which is a good thing. There are close to 1 million rent-stabilized apartments in New York City, and of the more than 2.5 million people living in them, 2/3 are low income and 1/4 are seniors. Rent stabilization is an essential form of stability for everyday New Yorkers. Over the past decade, New York City has lost almost 200,000 units. Nearly 1/5 of all rent-stabilized apartments have been deregulated. Why? Money. How? Well, money. Landlords can charge whatever they want for unregulated apartments, whatever the market will bear. So if they can make a rent-stabilized apartment into a market rate one, they can double, triple, octuple the rent, rendering it unaffordable to everyday New Yorkers. For a long time, that kind of deregulation wasn't possible. But in 1994, the landlord lobby pushed a devastating new bill through City Council: vacancy decontrol. Vacancy decontrol set a rent threshold at which apartments could be deregulated, and then baked in all kinds of legal loopholes to help landlords reach that mark. We've seen landlords exploit these loopholes all over the city. But, surprise, surprise, it's been most brutal in low-income communities, where landlords and management companies drool over the unrealized potential of our homes. They've harassed, intimidated, endangered, and evicted thousands of tenants in pursuit of a city-sanctioned rent boost. They flipped units, buildings, and whole neighborhoods, and it's only getting worse. So, what do we do about it? We change the rules. In June of 2019, the rent laws expire. What happens next will be determined in Albany. Believe me, things could get worse. The landlord lobby, the most powerful corporate influence in New York State, could further gut rent stabilization, or eliminate it altogether. But things could also get better. We could fight and win universal rent control. Now, what does that mean? It would mean closing the loopholes that let landlords hike up our stabilized rents. It would mean re-regulating the hundreds of thousands of units that have been lost to vacancy decontrol, and ending decontrol entirely. And most importantly, it would mean passing a good cause eviction bill that would extend these basic protections to tenants in all New York State, regardless of how big your apartment building is, when it was built, or where it's located. You would have security against these rent hikes and the right to renew your lease. We can make this happen, but we need everyone. We need you. Here's how you can help. Sign our pledge to fight for renters' rights at housingjusticeforall.org. You can learn more about the campaign there. Come to our next rally, meeting, or town hall. To see New York City DSA's calendar of events, go to socialists.nyc/events. Most importantly, talk to your neighbors about your rights as a tenant. For help organizing your building or talking to your neighbors about their rights, email tenants@socialists.nyc.